Right,
Honestly, I'm like a dinosaur.
I've just hit record because I like to do these things naturally and then tell people how natural I've done it. Hey, wait. Yeah, that was like in fact, you saying you never used Skype before. That's like the easiest we've ever done it since the whole lockdown thing. We've just been like, bam, done.
There we go.
You know, so thank you. Welcome everybody to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. We're still going. Yeah, we're still doing it.
Yeah.
And before we get into the show, I want to welcome my co-host Julie as well. How's it going, Jules? You okay?
It's going fine. Yep,
Yeah.
been gardening all morning.
You've got a nice big garden, to be fair. I'm quite envious of your garden. I mean...
Yeah, but when there's a lot of it to do, it's not so clever.
Well, anyway, today we are bringing the County High Sheriff. Is something I've never heard of before, and I feel quite ignorant, but I've been doing research today, and it's actually something I should definitely know about because it's a role that's apparently over 1,000 years old. So I'd like to introduce High Sheriff of Shropshire, Dean Harris. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi there. Hi. Good to know. Thank you for having me. Yes, indeed. That is part of the issue with the High Sheriff is a lot of people don't know about it. So amongst other things that I've set out to do this year, one of them is to raise the profile of the role so that it continues to stay relevant, really. But yes, you are right. It's 1,100 years old and
Wow.
actually the oldest secular office next to the monarch. So, yeah,
Fantastic.
quite proud and very privileged to be in office.
Fantastic. I think it's amazing. I mean, I feel bad that I didn't know about it, but I think you're right. I mean, you all need to know about what this is, you know? It's a very important role by the sounds of it. So have we got like clear records dating back to like 1,100 years old, how you know, the people that have been the High Sheriff in Shropshire?
There are records, and there's a gentleman actually in Shropshire who made it his mission to record with crests and crowns and everything every High Sheriff that has ever been in Shropshire. I think he stopped about 10 years ago, but he produced a book on it, which I've been lucky enough to be given a copy of. Sadly, my name obviously won't be featuring in there unless somebody else wants to carry on his work. But yeah, I mean, the history of it is that you were very much the crown, the king's representative in the county for collecting and giving over the taxes. Hence, there's the story to do with Robin Hood and things where that Robin Hood and the High Sheriff of Nottingham, he didn't give all of the taxes over. So that was the job, and also that you were supposed to protect the county, so you could raise a posse and defend the county. Obviously, we don't have to do either of those things anymore, thank the Lord. HMRC are well adept at collecting taxes, and we now have the police force who do the other bit. So no, my job's very different now, in so much as it's very much ceremonial, an element of ceremonial, but you are here to talk about the good that's going on in the county, raise the profile of organisations, voluntary sector and things like that. And fundamentally, you're here to support everything to do with the judiciary, emergency services, the voluntary sector. Let me make sure I get all of these. The Crown, so the Lord Lieutenant, and anything to do with the royal family visiting, all of the faiths that are around, and also the local authorities, and generally anything to do with crime prevention is what we're here to do as well. So quite a big remit, really.
Wow. That's the whole of Shropshire, isn't it, Dean?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, I'm getting out and about. I'm not getting out and about. I plan to get out and about, and do want to, by the end of my year, have visited as many of the towns and villages as I possibly can. Because I have to admit, I mean, I've been in Shropshire 24 years, I think. And there are an awful lot of bits and pieces that I haven't got out to yet. So that's on my to-do list as well.
Where does the High Sheriff differ from, like, say, a mayor? You know,
a mayor is they're elected, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you have town mayors, and it's more political. Whereas the High Sheriff is very much non-political, independent, nothing to do with the local authorities or anything.
Oh, okay.
So very different. And I mean, dare I say it, in the pecking order, the High Sheriff sits higher officially, in so much as to do with the history and what have you, whereas the mayors are generally linked to a political party and to do with the local authorities and town councils, whereas we sit aside from that.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Do you have a deputy High Sheriff?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Madeline Butcher, who's the undersheriff, that's the continuity in that she's been in office for several years, and so she's been through several sheriffs, and she will continue on to the next sheriff after me. So she generally is, as I say, from a legal perspective, she keeps us in law and order and makes sure that we're abiding by the Constitution and not stepping out of line, really.
Oh,
Cool.
that's brilliant, because that kind of stops any kind of favoritism or anything. It's just like she's there to do a certain job for everybody. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's it.
What were you going to ask, Julie? You were asking something just as we cut out.
I think I asked how long does a High Sheriff serve, and Dean, I think you said a year, didn't you?
Yeah, we just get a year. So I've got quite a long to-do list, and obviously my year has been somewhat hampered so far. So hopefully it's not long before we're out the other side of this. But so it's that's the one slight difficulty with the role, that you have you can't start something that you can't really finish in the year. Because you can't tie the hands of the incoming sheriff, really. So you have to be quite careful about that side of things. I mean, there's one or two things that do carry on, which is the Young Citizenship Awards. Those are an annual feature for all high sheriffs.
Wow.
And then we're going to see if there's one or two other things that we can maybe create during my year that we can pass on as well. But we'll see.
How does one prepare for a role like this? Is this something you knew you'd be doing for a while? Or is it something that takes just a couple of years to build up to?
Well, it's how I got the role was I was nominated, and in my real life, I'm a magistrate and have been for 20 years. So what happened was I was nominated by a previous High Sheriff, Christine Holmes, who was also a magistrate. So I knew about 3.5 years ago, I was approached 3.5 years ago to see if I would take the role on, which I had to think quite long and hard, because I wanted to make sure that I could make some sort of difference. And also there's a time commitment as well. So I agreed to do it. And then it's a case of you aren't allowed to tell anybody. So that's a strain.
Yeah, I bet.
So it wasn't so much me keeping the secret, it was more my husband keeping the secret, but he didn't do too badly. So
well done, husband.
Once it went, I could tinker along, so I couldn't really let anybody know I was asking certain questions. So once it became sort of general knowledge, when it was announced at the Royal Courts of Justice about a year last November, I started connecting with certain people and organisations that I wanted to take on and champion throughout my year. So I was quite clear on the areas I wanted to focus on in my year, which are domestic abuse, child poverty and deprivation, and addiction, which are tough subjects, and there have been one or two intakes of breath when I've mentioned them, but I've stuck hard and fast to those, and that hasn't changed. Even with COVID, I still think they're important things. So so I've been preparing in so much as networking, creating a bit of a database, planning out one or two events and things, and then obviously my declaration, which was meant to be on the 3rd of April, which in the end was done by Zoom, I think it was, or WhatsApp. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, so quite a long time to prepare. But you are, as I say, you can't go out shouting from the rooftops. So,
and I bet it must have felt like a kick in the teeth, really, having to do your ceremony under closed doors because of all this. It must have felt terrible for you.
It was. I mean, it was a bit of a sideswipe. I mean, there's people going through an awful lot more than that at the moment. But as I think I said to somebody the other day, I felt a bit like I'd organised my wedding for 3 years, and then the groom had run off at the last minute. Which it was fine. I mean, I in some ways it worked out better, because whilst there wasn't tea and buns all round, it meant that we could do a video of it, upload it to social media, and so there's probably about 10 times the people got to see the declaration as normally would, really. It's just that there wasn't quite so much of the grandiosity of it, really, which is a shame.
I guess when this is all done, we can do an after party if it's, there's an opportunity.
Okay. Or even an after party.
Yeah. I plan on doing something similar for my wife. For her birthday, I think we sat and watched Netflix. Like, there wasn't. What else can you do? So I think after all this, I'm going to throw a party. So thank.
There you go. Very good.
So yeah, this year you've chosen a few things to tackle. They're quite hard hitting subjects. What made you think of these?
It's a lot of it's to do with what I see day in, day out in court, because I sit in criminal court, so adult court, and I also sit in the family court. So I'm well aware of some of the issues around the county, which some people, understandably are unaware of. Why would they know about it all? But it's quite important to me that we, even though we're seen as a wealthy county, that we do support and assist wherever we can, where people are less well off or are going through some troubled times. So it comes from what I see in court, and I know how the three issues I've chosen are inevitably interlinked. And I just want to raise awareness of them and see if the provision we've got in the county is sufficient, can be better. It just needs highlighting sometimes. So that's my mission, as it were, to try and put people together who can make a difference.
Yeah, we did. I'm not sure if you're aware, Dean. We did an interview. Was it last Friday, Al? The poetry share.
Yeah, we did our shared biscuits.
Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already spoken to Jane, actually. So we're in conversation. She sent me a wish list, so I'm working through that at the moment. And I think that one of the big problems with Shropshire is, we are very fortunate. It's a stunning county to live in, but it's the fact that we in some ways we are a county of two halves is what I'm finding. And not helped by the fact we've got two local authorities in there, but that's another story. But that's the thing that I'm having to take into account, is that it's very different, Telford side to Shropshire and to Shrewsbury and beyond. So just having to bear that in mind as well, because there's a lot of provision in some parts of the county for certain things, and not a lot of provision in other parts. So we need to try and even that out and make sure everybody's getting access to what they need, really.
Well, Telford's so densely populated, isn't it? There's a lot of people in such a short space. That's what causes all the problems.
It's a completely different demographic, really, and the problems there. Even the way that things have to be policed in the Telford area as opposed to Shrewsbury and North Shropshire, very, very different problems, even though it's all one county. But as long as we're aware of it and I can take it into account, then hopefully we can make some difference somewhere.
Sure. So what would you say? Obviously you've got these sort of projects that you want to tackle this year, and obviously being locked down presents one challenge. But
absolutely,
what would you say is your major challenge for 2020, COVID aside, so to speak?
I think the key thing, I've got a whole to-do list, and the key thing is the domestic abuse probably takes, I wouldn't say takes priority, but I feel I can probably have the most impact with the domestic abuse side of things. So again, highlighting what can be done there, what's accessible, being more aware and making people more aware of some of the fundamental problems with being in abusive relationships and how difficult they are to get out of, because the age-old, I don't know why they don't just leave, doesn't work. So again, raising awareness there, but also seeing if we can get some better provision around the refuges and things like that. So that's quite a tall order. But I think particularly with the government now making noises on domestic abuse and hopefully it going to attract a little bit more funding, and obviously the change in the law, which hopefully should come later in the year, that then maybe we can have an impact there. The addiction side of things, I've done some work already with Willardine down in Bridgnorth, and I've been connecting with a lot of the smaller addiction charities, because fundamentally they need money, and it needs to be a bit more of a joined up service. So I wanted to have an impact there, in so much as, again, making people aware of what is available and seeing if we can maybe take away, again, probably like Jane said, some of the stigma and making it easier for people to self-refer with some of these problems. And finally, I think that the toughest one is going to be the child poverty and deprivation, because it's not as if you go to one charity to solve that problem. That's very much, obviously, working with the local authorities, and that might be just a bit of awareness raising, but also, questioning what some of these very large charities are. What impact are they having in the county, and is there more that we could be asking them to do in the county? So like the Barnardos and the Save the Children and people like that. So connecting with them as well, because they are doing good work around the country. Let's see if we can get a bit more of that going on in Shropshire as well.
Yeah.
And as I was told at the very beginning of this journey, I'm here to generally sprinkle my Shravel dust for 12 months. So I will sprinkle my fairy dust, as it were. But we'll see. I'm obviously going to try and do some fundraising along the way as well, which I'm very fortunate that there's a company in Oswestry called ACO who have pledged a lot of their corporate social responsibility budget to me for the year, for me to spend and for them to work with me on certain projects as well. So that's fantastic. But again, a lot of that's on hold at the moment until we're out of lockdown, just to be, sensitive and just make sure that we're putting the money in the right places, because my 3 causes still stay true, but it might be that we have to have a rethink on 1 or 2 aspects of things that we were going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I suppose particularly one of the ones that will probably get highlighted more as a result of obviously lockdown is, because I've seen a few reports myself about the unfortunately the increase in domestic abuse, because people are being forced into situations where normally they would have had a bit of an escape. Now they haven't.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm mindful that there is quite a lot out there on social media at the moment about domestic abuse and things for exactly that reason. And speaking to the 2 Shropshire-based charities, I think it was last week, they hadn't had the numbers hadn't gone up significantly as far as things being reported. But I think it's just a calm before the storm, realistically. Yeah. But and that's what worries me in a way more about the COVID. I mean, there are people going through hell at the moment, but part of me worries that when our lockdown is over and we come out the other side, it's almost going to be a worse situation. I suppose it's a bit like when you have a baby and the novelty's there to start with, and then nobody's remotely interested in you after about a fortnight, are they? And it's that worries me when people are, well, we're out of it. No more mortgage holidays, no more loan holidays. You've got the financial aspect as well. So I don't know. It's and scary old times.
I mean, like, I've been struggling. I mean, I've been quite vocal about it, and the reason I'm vocal about it is because I want people to know that A, I'm human, and B, that people can come and talk to me because I'm going through similar situation as a lot of people. So I've been struggling a lot, and I can see why, domestic abuse or that kind of heated, horrible atmosphere can, because I felt a bit pent up. I'm not bad and I'm not an animal, but I felt in that kind of environment. So when you release people out and you say, yes, let's go, you're going to have all this energy and all this negativity in people, and it's just going to spill out into the communities. It's, I'm not saying that, lockdown ending is going to be an absolutely terrible thing, because it really won't be. But I mean, there is that possibility that we're going to have so many new problems to deal with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the thing you've got with the whole domestic abuse side of things, it's the fact that there's not, quite often there's children stuck in the middle of that, and they're not going to school at the moment, and at least school is an outlet or some area of sanity and things like that. And I understand people's pressures and stresses and strains, but that there's still no excuse for that sort of thing. But no, it's tricky, it really is. And so hopefully working, as I say, with Shropshire Domestic Abuse Services and West Mercia Women's Aid, seeing where we can go with that. And what we can highlight and make some of the, I'm talking to some survivors and things like that, so that I've got an insight as well. So that I understand. I understand quite a lot. We're quite well trained as magistrates anyway, but it's not the same as hearing somebody's story. And one of the things I really want to get done in the autumn is the Chamber of Commerce Shropshire Chamber of Commerce have agreed that they will help me to put on a employers forum, so we can make employers aware of the signs of domestic abuse and what they can do to support it.
That's a good shout.
They've agreed to do that. So Mandy Thorne from the Chamber has agreed to do that, and that will again be working with Shropshire Domestic Abuse Services and West Mercia Women's Aid. So it'll be, not just, oh dear, isn't that a problem, but actually helping employers, because it's so sensitive. I mean, you might suspect a lot of things going on, but what do you do about it? And quite a lot of people are so secretive and scared, and the last thing they want to do is it to impact on their work. So I think that'll be quite an important one, which I think they did something similar last year. I think it was to do with mental health. So they've got a template for us to follow, and apparently that worked quite well. So that's a biggie. And then again, as I said, doing some work with some of the smaller organisations around the county, which again I've been networking with over this last week to see what they need and what we can help them with as well.
And I guess, like, you're saying you trying to raise the profile of the High Sheriff, and then you trying to help with the promotion of these charities that you plan to help and use to help out with. I suppose they go hand in hand, don't they? So how do you tackle one differently than the other? How do you promote you in aid to promote your charity?
Well, I'm promoting the office is the fundamental thing, because it's been quite a lot of High Sheriffs previously have, and times have changed, have sort of been not been in favour of a lot of social media. So I've ramped up the social media massively. We've got Zoom over in Telford working with me to get that going, because I certainly couldn't be left to my own devices. So again, making sure that we're getting appropriate and relevant posts every week. So we're on Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook, getting that moving and keeping that going, and then linking in with relevant organisations. So that's important. Making sure that I'm talking to key players and that they're, they know who I am and they know what the office is about. So yes, I'm out there telling people all about it. And then when it comes to supporting the organisations, and it's not just charities, it can be individuals or anything. It's important that it's not just about me giving them money. It's about, because there's only a limited amount of money, sometimes it's just that they might need a volunteer, which again, one of the organisations I was talking to earlier, they needed some help on admin. I found somebody who could help them on admin, just volunteer posts. So some of it's just a lot of it, actually, not just some of it, is about putting people together who can solve the problem. So almost like I'm almost just networking and being like a bit of a bureau to put people together who can sort problems out, because I can't do them all.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. You mentioned sort of like earlier about the laws changing this year.
Yes.
Whenabouts is that due, and what is that actual change in the law?
What it's about, I'm going to a conference I'm just going into the cupboard to get the actual details on it so I'm not misquoted, in November down at Westminster, which is hopefully when the readings have all been, the reading of the bill has all been delayed and what have you, wasn't it, due to COVID. So, as is everything in the world. So I think my understanding is it'll be the tail end of this year. I think it's already been done in Scotland, but we're still going through the motions here. So there's a big conference down in Westminster, 3rd of November, where all of that will come together, and the Minister for Domestic Abuse will be there, and all the significant charities and some survivors, actually. So it will be the latter part of this year, fingers crossed, if it gets the final reading and goes through. So that'll be quite significant. I mean, it will be significant, but we've still got to have it that there are more refugees, and it's easier for women or not women, men, anybody to leave, go somewhere safe, and even things to do with the benefit systems and the complexities of that. It's there's not going to be an easy solution to it all, but we've certainly got to do something more than we are, because I was talking to the chief constable the other way, and he was saying about some of the the stuff we were talking about 15 years ago to do with domestic abuse hasn't changed. It's still the same today, and for some reason we haven't been able to grab hold of it and make the massive inroads that are needed. I mean, things are better, but it's still we're not getting the solutions quick enough. I mean, if you think about the numbers of every hour, 100 calls are received by the police in England and Wales every hour, every day, just to do with domestic abuse.
Wow, that's
so
scary.
But the cost from that point of view is beyond a joke. But the stats are quite frightening, really.
I imagine it's terrible.
It's dreadful that nothing's changed in 15 years as well.
Yeah.
And it
inevitably comes down to funding. I mean, that the knowledge and the will is there, but the funding required for refugees and things like that. And you've got to remember that, as I say, there are kids caught up in all of this as well.
And this at this time, and in the with the COVID-19 thing, the lockdown, there's lots of contributing factors as well, isn't there? Obviously there's people not at work, I bet things like debt are accumulating. If people can't go to work, they can't pay their debts and things like that. As far as I know, you guys just deal essentially sort of like with the council deal with council tax and things like that. But how are we going to approach that? Because it's going to be an issue, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's not my forte, even though my background is accounting. But that one really is over to the government, isn't it? I mean, that there are, and I have to say, the information available on the website, which you have to remember, not everybody has access to the internet.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of information there, and it is as much if people will accept there's a problem and they will go and talk to people. Then there are solutions out there more than ever.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I'm quite fortunate where I am. But I understand there are people who. It's the same as when the school vouchers. Everybody think, okay, we've solved the problem of the preschool meals. Well, the vouchers were only accepted in places like Waitrose. They weren't accepted in Aldi.
Oh gosh!
People on preschool meals do not shop at Waitrose, for goodness. Neither do I shop at Waitrose. So there's some silly things like that going on. But I think fundamentally, if people will talk to Citizens Advice Bureau, the councils, that there are pockets of money there. There are solutions there that. They're not long-term solutions, admittedly, but they may be enough to get people over the hump and either get themselves back into work or, some of the debt charities as well are very good and stepping up to some work now. But I don't think, it's going to be a long old haul getting us out of this mess, it's fair to say.
I think so.
No, so but yes, so there's a lot to do and in very different times, but I'm still going to, as I say, keep on the same goal that I had from the beginning. So not get too deflected.
You've got to, haven't you? I mean, like you said, you've been thinking about this for a while now, and it must become quite a desire and a passion while you're thinking about this as it's building up, and then now it's your time to shine. You got to fulfil that, right?
Well, that's part of the reason that I'm not prepared to let these go. And one or two people have said, "Oh no, have you thought about this?" And I've said, "No, those are the things that I know need addressing. They need help, and they're things that I know about as well." So I can't deny that having the backdrop of being a magistrate is a massive help to becoming High Sheriff. And there's not many magistrates who do become High Sheriff. So we have got quite an insight, particularly as one of our fundamental jobs is to support the judiciary. So you do tend to have a sort of a bit of a head start on things, really. So that's quite useful. But no, I'm going to hang on to my beliefs and passions on this one. I'm definitely.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting actually because, and I'm pretty sure, I think she might have been Deputy High Sheriff, but my sort of like ex boss, they used to own driver awareness company, and in Telford, and
I know the Wins.
Yes, Jenny Wynn. She was deputy, wasn't she?
She's a deputy lieutenant.
Deputy lieutenant, right? There's all these different titles, isn't there? Yeah.
So she works with Anna Turner, our current Lord Lieutenant.
Right. Okay. Lord Lieutenant. That's right. Yes. Now you've said that, that does make sense now. Yeah.
No, the Lord Lieutenant is the Queen's representative in the county, so they're in for the long haul, whereas we are 1 year only and officially known as the Queen's representative for law and order in the county.
Right.
Then we change every year.
I was a Lord Lieutenant in the Army Cadets when I was a kid. I was a Lord Lieutenant of the Wrexham County. Yeah. That's really weird.
I hope you've got that on your CV, Al.
Not anymore. On my ROA, which is I haven't seen my ROA.
Ironically, with the High Sheriff, we have police cadets. The Armed Forces is the Lord Lieutenant, whereas we are the police. So I have actually got 4 police cadets assigned to me, but bless them, obviously things went wrong from the beginning in so much as their first event was going to be my declaration, so they had to stand down for that. So we're hoping that we can get a Zoom conference or something going over the next couple of weeks just to keep in touch with them and see what they've been up to, really. But yes, it's quite exciting, really, because there's never been a big cadet program linked to the High Sheriff before. So we spent quite a lot of time working with them to get a template going for that, and that's rolled out now across the whole of West Mercia, so not just in Shropshire, which is really good as well. But we just need to get it going because obviously we've been stalled a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with all this going on, everybody's at home. This gives you lots of time to prepare, doesn't it? I guess you sat at home making plans, and like you said, you're speaking to people like Jane McKenzie at Share, speaking to Bernardo's. You're speaking to people, and you can do that while you're at home. So maybe when we're unleashed upon the world, you can kind of just put your plans into place, I guess.
Well, I don't think you want to see me being unleashed, I can assure you. But no, what's been, in some ways it's been useful because I'd sort of set myself a plan and I'd got a whole list of people I wanted to catch up with, but it would have been meetings and I'd been spending time going out to them. I've still carried on with that and made contact, and whether it's been phone, Zoom or whatever it's been, pretty much I've worked through that list, and I've got sort of conference calls the rest of this week and all of next week, and as I have from the 3rd of April really. So it's been useful to connect with people. It's given me some time to do a bit more research, and I've also come across some organisations I didn't even know about, so that's been quite useful. My little red book is getting fuller and fuller with ideas and thoughts and things I can sort of do with people, so that's pretty good. Some stuff simply can't happen, like I was going to spend some time at Stoke Heath, the HMP Stoke Heath, but obviously that's not practical to do, so there's some things that just can't happen. And I wanted to connect and do some work with the schools as well, which again, they're not going to be interested in the High Sheriff at the moment.
Yeah. It's like Phil Gillam. We're going to get him on the show next week. Well, I think it's meant to be this week, but next week I think we're going to get him on, the mayor of Shrewsbury. And I was just thinking, this poor guy, right? He's had a great start to the year. I mean, the flower show, and we had a great, but then we had the floods, and then we got coronavirus, and it's just like the last 3 months of his term has just been terrible for him, and I feel bad for him,
He's done quite a lot of good in his first period in office, though. He's done a lot around the town, so that's been pretty good, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that we've got, that concerns me is some things have gone by the wayside, like the flower show's gone, the air show's gone, and various other things. Going to Buckingham Palace to the garden parties has gone. So there's big things like that. But I mean, those are the sort of the icing on the cake, really, which were the nice to have. So there's still a lot that can be done, and it's just seeing what state we're all in when we come out the other side, really. But I'm still delighted to be in office. I haven't been worn down in the first month yet, but it's just doing what you can and making best use of your time. I'm quite lucky as well. I've got an office at home, so subject to the dog knocking the door every 10 minutes, I can, I'm pretty much set up. I haven't got to spread things out on the kitchen table and put things away. So I'm quite fortunate from that point.
I mean, like I said, you talk about your red book and stuff, and me, you're not getting pulled left to right. Dean, we need you here. You're here on Thursday. You're there on Friday. You can sit and, like you said, think, and you can plan. Right.
And also, I've never had my diary so empty in all my life. Normally it's full of work and social engagements, which are my choice. But this is very much, I can choose what time I'm wanting the Zoom calls and things like that. So in a way, yes, it is. I've got a lot more flexibility than some people. And I'm still working, but again, I can, because it's our own business, I can work that around whatever I want to as well. So that's not a problem.
I've got something I just thought of actually. As a magistrate, I mean, are you working as a magistrate as well as the High Sheriff?
No, I'm not allowed. No, I'm not allowed to. I have to stand down. Sorry, I held the thing quite close to me then. I have to stand down for the 12 months of being in office.
Okay.
I'm still linked in so much as I get all the updates, and I'm still on the advisory committee, which is the committee that recruits new magistrates and disciplines the naughty ones. So I'm still involved with that, but I'm not allowed to sit in court, which when we first went into COVID, I did think, oh my goodness, I could be far more use if I was sitting in court now for the next few months. But obviously with the court system's changed anyway at the moment. There's limited stuff going on there. So I'm as well being here. But so I'll stand down.
That was going to be my next. This was leading on to that question: is how are they doing court procedures now? Because, well,
there's a lot of stuff's not happening. It's just been deferred off. There's some stuff being done. The district judges are doing it instead of the magistrates. Some stuff is being done with the justices on a remote video link and only being called in if they need to make a decision. So they are being quite innovative. In fairness to them, but there's no doubt there's going to be a massive backlog when we come out the other side as well. So I think there's going to have to be a rethink on maybe what we do there, and whether courts run later into the day or things like that. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. So there's a lot of any remands and things are still happening, but not the general day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nightmare. I mean, like the fiscal year has restarted, so everybody's got holidays again, right? I've got like 6 weeks of holidays sat there waiting to use, and I'm like, what's the point? No. What's the point?
I think the thing with the whole COVID thing is when you start thinking too deeply about it, the impact on every single person. I mean, even just, I know we all joke about, I've got roots coming through and my hair's getting longer and I look more like Lenny the Lion than anything. But it's even to just drill down to that. So it's the hairdresser who now is, and you just drill down and it gets further and further down, and it's the impact across every single aspect of every single person's life, which it just doesn't. You couldn't have dreamt this, could you? You just really couldn't. So, me being High Sheriff is the least. Me being inconvenienced, rather, I should say, as High Sheriff is the least thing for anybody to worry about. But what I do want people to understand is that anybody who's got an organisation, a charity, or an individual that they think I can support or help in any way, even if it's just raising the profile, then please get in touch. And the same that some way down the line, towards the end of the year, I'd like to do some High Sheriff Awards. So again, for unsung heroes and things like that. That's one of the things I'd like to start this year and then pass on to the next High Sheriff as well. So that's quite important to see if we can get something going there.
Well, please remember
There'll
us.
Be plenty of them.
Yeah. Remember us. If there's anybody that's got something they want us to talk about with them, just send them our way.
Absolutely. Actually, that did come to mind when I was just speaking to you, because there was a young lady I was speaking to earlier about. Again, I'm afraid it was about addictions, but it's her passion and some of the stuff that she's got going on. Yeah, there's definitely some organisations I can put your way that I've just been so blown away by their stories. And I tended to think I'd got a bit of the inside track from my magistrates knowledge, but there's still a lot of little places little organisations doing wonderful things out there that nobody knows about. So let's see if we can get their profiles raised, really, and get them some funding somewhere along the line as well.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, isn't it? Like you say,
absolutely.
Funding.
But if Captain Tom can raise all that money, we can do something.
Exactly.
Bless his cotton socks. So,
I know.
I know, unbelievable. But no. So there's a lot of good stuff on my list still to be knocked off.
Good. I like that. That wasn't good. I'm glad you're doing something positive. Well done, you. That was that's
no, not at all.
it's
not at all.
A bit of positivity, because I mean there are loads of great positive things coming out actually at the moment. There's we spoke to Seasons on our last show, and they were talking how they've adapted their business to be able to work in this environment. There's and you talking about the court systems being really innovative, and you yourself using social media when a lot of the high sheriffs haven't really done that. There are so many initiatives coming out of it. So even though yes, it is affecting people negatively, whole scale, there are still some really nice things coming out of it. I mean, Captain Tom is just one of them. Captain Tom Moore is an absolute inspiration, and he has inspired others to do the same.
I think the thing is that the number of people volunteering and things like that has just been off the Richter scale, hasn't it? The people, I do think the British are terribly good when things are bad. Yeah. That we do seem to have the ability to absolutely step up to the mark and pull together. And I mean, even in our little tiny village, there's the support group, and if anybody's going somewhere and somebody needs something, and some of the old people in the village, there really is a pulling together. But I suppose we're fortunate that we've got that in our village, but without wanting the doom and gloom, there are still some people who are not having any contact, and it's just people putting themselves out to try and connect with people, which again, as I just think it's been wonderful. It would be even more wonderful if we could keep it going after we come out of COVID.
Yeah, that's the key thing, isn't it? It's the keeping it going. We've got two or three? There's 3 young boys in our village. I think they was in Shropshire News not so long back, but they've set up like a not helpline, but they've set up a phone line so that old people, they can call and speak to old people.
Oh, bless them.
Nice.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
And it is
Really
just stuff like that. And particularly because, that's youngsters. I think they was 14, 12 and 9, I think they are, the 3 boys.
And youngsters get quite a lot of bad press as well, don't they?
Exactly.
And
that's
you know what?
fantastic.
Speaking of press, and speaking of what you were just saying, Dean, I feel like the press need to take heed and stop. I mean, we know there are protesters going on about in America, and we know there are people doing daft things here in the UK, but all we're hearing about is the negativity. Okay, Captain Tom has been like one of the positive stories that's come out of this, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of people up and down the country and in America too, I bet, doing great things, and all we're hearing is the negativity. It's very irresponsible, and I'm not going to do a Piers Morgan now, but I do feel like the press are being very irresponsible and quite mean, actually, because all the well-spirited, the do-good, well-doers, well-wishers, and the people that are working hard need to be illustrated. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. No, as I say, there is a lot of good going on.
It's even just people capturing, like trying to make the mood lighter for people, and like the posts, like all the post people in Shrewsbury, they're all dressing up in fancy dress. Yeah. To deliver mail, so that's to put a smile on their face, and obviously Brigitte Zootman, she's going around and doing the and that's like recording history. That will be doing the the photographic doorstep.
Oh yes, yeah, that I saw that the other day. That's a brilliant thing, like you say, the history that's been. And the thing we have to remember is that kids will be in school in the future and they'll be learning about this as part of history.
Oh yes.
And that's in a way that's quite scary and quite daunting, but also I think. Like you say, I just think if we can keep some of the goodwill going and the volunteering side of things, I'm fortunate. I've been a magistrate for years. I've run my own business, so I'm fortunate. I've got the time and I can change my commitments to fit in with it. Not everybody has. I appreciate that, but if we were just a little bit more creative about it, and I mean, the UK relies so heavily on volunteers. I think it's when you see these numbers, it's quite frightening, and it makes you wonder what we'll do in the future if we don't have volunteers. That's the other thing. So it's quite important that we keep it going. So
this is why they need to change the press approach, and find a way to say thank you in a very rewarding and public way. To someone that's gone out there and overstepped the mark. I mean, like there are so many great things even locally. Mark Fielden, who does Chords Crush Cancer, he's releasing a #Together CD to raise money for the NHS. All local musicians with independent music. They're going to put on a CD. I did mention Patreon as well, or something digital because it's a CD. But he's thinking about all the older generation that still listen to CDs, and he's going to sell these CDs and raise money for the NHS. My friend Ashley Wilding sat in his house in Shifnal, sat there playing Resident Evil on his PlayStation. He raised £100 for the NHS doing that. Well,
I don't actually know what that is, but I know
it's a video game.
I don't know what the first bit was. So okay, that's fine. But I think the other thing. Not obviously, it's just the NHS and the job they're doing is just unreal.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important. We're going to have to remember that there's other organisations that are going to need so much support when we come out the other side of this. That they were struggling anyway. Now their funding's absolutely rock bottom. And there's so many vulnerable people relying on them. So. I think we're just going to have to stop, rethink, and see where we go, and hopefully, from the government's perspective as well, that they will be doing the same. So, please God, we all, as a nation, learn something from this. That's all you can hope, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think you're right as well. It's about the organisations post this that are going to need it, but also now, I mean, obviously, everyone is focusing quite rightly on supporting the NHS as much as possible. But like you say, there's like you can't do any fundraising activity. There'll be lots of different charities that all of their fundraising events that they had put on this year have been, a big one that comes to mind for me in the county is the Bike for Life for Midland Air Ambulance. I mean, obviously they're going to do a virtual Bike for Life at the weekend, but
how are they going to do that?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I was going to do it myself physically, but I'm sure it's I'm not sure, and I'm now thinking, has it already gone? Was it this Sunday just
There
gone?
are lots of really great videos. I mean, like for example, the album and Bombos, James Hitchin there, they did like a pass the pint video where people would like sliding their drinks and they're catching it, taking a drink, sweet.
Yeah.
There's
I mean, there is some amazing stuff online, and like you say, people are so creative and things like that. So you can raise a smile, but yeah, it's and you do sometimes. You just, I mean, I've taken to listen. I can only bear listening to the news for about 20 minutes a day. Because you just go, I can't take any more. You've got to just take yourself away from it sometimes, and just because like you say, it is. I mean, people can become obsessed with it, and it can just absolutely set the fear of God into you.
Yeah.
But again, I also understand not everybody's got the mental strength to do that. There are some people genuinely sat petrified. So again, if we can do anything to help those as well, then we just need to be mindful that not everybody's as resilient as maybe you or I. That's the other thing.
So that's the other thing that Al's just said about the press don't help, and you've got those people that either they're listening to the news. However, it's the same. I just catch 10 minutes in the morning and then that's my lot. No way do I want to listen to any more. But then it's, obviously it's being rolled out through social media. And thankfully, obviously, a lot of people jump onto it. And, the good thing about social media is people can certainly outshare any press that goes on there with good things. So, but a lot of people will believe a lot of the stuff that they hear, and which will make them worry even more, which is sometimes unnecessary because, and unless there is any facts and, factual data in anything that comes through, it's, I've adopted a don't believe it until it's like, until it's coming on the BBC News, so to speak, and then even then reserving a little bit of judgment. So...
No, it is the whole fake news thing, which actually I just thought was a figment of Donald Trump's imagination to start with. But it is. But the times that people do it's on Facebook, so it must be true. It's just bizarre. But
yes,
you just have to. We just have to, I suppose, protect those people who are maybe not made of sturdier stuff, really, and do what we can. So but it's.
I find with folks, it's about using the right language and the right approach, because if somebody's like, Elon Musk's Starlink is causing the corona and it's 5G, and you go up to him and you're like, you're an idiot and you don't believe it, then they're just going to come back at you and they're just going to be this back and two argument. I did one last week. I was like, we're talking about vaccines and stuff, and I realized why what's the point, because I don't know the language. I don't know how to get across to someone that believes in these things that they see on Facebook. But I think threw up a post.
The other thing I think is tricky as well is, I don't live on my own. I have a husband. And I think that must be quite a big challenge, whether you're old or young. If you do live completely on your own and for some reason you are, you're not going to work or whatever, I think that loneliness, and people tend to think of loneliness just in old people. But I think, I've got girlfriends who are single. And I think it must be a real strain that therefore what you are listening to on the television in some ways can have more impact because you haven't got anybody to rationalise it with or just say, take your mind away from it. And I think, Zoom and all these conference calling apps and things have really come into their own now that, if you can keep your friends around you, if you've got friends and family, I understand that as well.
Yeah.
But I think that is just vital that you've got to have some connection with other people.
Yeah.
I think that has, that's obviously I suppose the creativity of people, isn't it? And jumping on these different, obviously we're doing this via Skype, but like Zoom, and it is. I think the key thing is setting regular Zoom catch-ups with people. So I do. Me and my sisters do one every Wednesday with my mum. It's quite entertaining initially. Obviously, trying to talk her how to get onto Zoom, even though every week she's on it, but we still have to tell her what to do. But, and I think that's the way, because the moment they see your faces and can interact with you, obviously they're not there and they can't hold you and hug you, but at least, it's better than the phone or just a quick text or something.
Yeah.
So,
it's the connection, isn't it? I think it's the connection with other people, like you say, seeing the whites of their eyes, it just makes a big difference.
Yeah.
as well as like the silly little games and things you can play on Facebook. You know, you can play I used to play Scrabble with my dad. House Party. Not a lot of people are using House Parties anymore, but like House Party's great. I was playing like you know that game where you put like a post-it on your head and you got to try and guess who the stupid silly little games like that. They're just fun to do with your family. Brilliant. Dean, you've been great. Can you tell sort of people if they wanted to write to you with suggestions and to get in touch with you, how would they be able to do that?
Yep, they can either go on to the website, which is highsheriffshropshire.co.uk, or I've got two email addresses. I've got shropshirehs@hotmail.co.uk, or there's dean@thebusinesscompany.biz. Or I can give my mobile number out if you allow that. That's fine. It's 07989 387 343, which I don't mind either way. But if they're stuck for any of those, just go straight onto the High Sheriff Shropshire website, and all the contact details are on there anyway. Fantastic.
I've loved speaking to you. I think you're great. I think you're awesome. I think as soon as I heard you say that nobody else was doing social media, so I wanted to do it, and I was like, yes, we got a winner there. Absolutely.
One of the things I'd like to be cheeky and ask you if I can do, if once we're out of lockdown and I've got some visits under my belt and I've got something to come back and talk to you about, then I really would like to come back and tell you what I've found out about the county, what's going on.
Yes, please.
Where we've got some issues. Yeah. So I'm not talking about coming on every month, but say maybe 2 or 3 times during the year. I think it'd be quite useful to have so what have you actually done and what have you achieved, Dean? I would be quite welcome to. You could hold me to account for all the things I've said I'm going to do.
No, I'd love that. We'll get Biscuit Studios back up and running. We'd love to. You know what? Keep in touch anyway.
No, definitely. Because... And as I say, some of the organisations I'm coming across will definitely benefit from coming on and talking to you both.
I think that'd be great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. I was going to give a quick shout out before we went out. I completely forgot at the beginning, but I wanted to make a point of it. Splat and Splodge, who's from the parade, which is where Biscuit Studios are. They've done an online initiative where because obviously the parade is closed at the moment, people are going out their minds. Splat and Splodge are doing a what's it called? A hire and fire kit. It's like a pottery kit that you can pick up from a doorstep. You can take it home, you can paint your pots, and then you can wash all the equipment, bring it back to her, and she sterilizes everything, and it's good to go again. So you hire these pottery paint pot things. That'd be great for the kids. I mean, if kids are going crazy at home, and Splat and Splodge are great anyway, so there's an idea. Go to www.splatandSplodge.co.uk to find out more about that. I just want to give her a shout out because she's great. Dean, you've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, I shall take care, both stay well, and I shall be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you. Before we sign off, I just want to quickly say we could do with some nice 5-star reviews on iTunes. If you're listening to us on iTunes and you do listen to us on iTunes, if you liked it, I mean, I'm not going to say give us a 5-star review. If you liked it, drop a 5-star review. Tell people about us. Give us a share as well, because I just love to hear your comments and see what you say. Go to our website as well, which is www.theshrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to our audio directly from there. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
This has been great. Peace out.